Historic Resources Board meeting. I want to point out that Zoom webinar participation is available for members of the public. The Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Reitman?
Me? No. That's you. Yeah.
I didn't even hear it. Hello?
Say yes.
Yes, I hear it.
Councilmember Munoz?
No.
Councilmember Collender?
Here.
Councilmember Shim?
Present.
Councilmember Hirahara?
Here.
Councilmember Lesney? And Chair Mazgay?
Present. We do have a new member, Gary Reitman. Gary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Gary Reitman. I've lived here I'm sorry. Thank you. Hi, my name is Gary Reitman. I've lived here since 1985, moved here from Kern County. I was a deputy sheriff until I retired in 2010. Worked several retirement jobs after that. And currently, when I turned 65, I just decided I'm fully retired. And now I'm here and doing this as a fun project. And I hope to do some good things while I'm here.
Well, we're looking forward to your participation and welcome to the HRB.
Thank you.
Can we have staff introductions, please?
Grant Leonard, Planning Manager.
Yesenia Segovia, Assistant Planner.
Michelle Mowry, Analyst.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? I want to point out that the public comment period here would be for items that are not on the agenda today. Looks like we don't have any, so we'll move on to the consent of the minutes. So do we have any questions, comments from board members? Yes, Karen.
I did not say aye on that item because that was my first meeting for the previous meeting minutes, so I abstained. Just a correction.
Okay, so we note that we should remove Karen's name for the approval of the last month's minutes because she wasn't a member yet. Any other comments or questions from board members? I have one. So since the whole nature of minutes, the way they are presented in the recent changes, I want to make it clear for the topic of the Salinas Fine Art Collection, where we were to receive a staff update announcing the existence of such a collection. I want to make it clear that we did not receive information about a Salinas Fine Art Collection. Its inventory and location are unknown.
Yep.
And with that, do we have approval of the minutes? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote, please.
Board Member Reitman?
Aye.
Board Member Munoz?
Yes.
Board Member Collender?
Yes.
Board Member Shim?
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara?
I abstain. I was absent from the meeting.
Board Member Lesney?
Yes.
And Chair Mazgay?
Yes. Next would be the annual election of the Historic Resources Board Chair and Vice Chairperson.
That's correct, Chair. Per the HRB's bylaws, the first meeting after July 1st, the board is to select their chairperson as well as their vice chair. So we're here today to take nominations and to have a vote on that. So we'll pass it to your chair and to the board for nominations.
I'll make a nomination to have Michael continue as chair.
Is there a second to that or other nominations?
I'll second that.
Can we have a roll call vote then?
Board Member Reitman,
Yes.
Board Member Munoz,
Yes?
Board Member Collender,
Yes.
Board Member Shim,
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara,
Yes.
Board Member Lesney,
Yes.
and Chair Maskey.
Yes. Next on our agenda are administrative reports. The first one being, oh, I'm sorry, pardon me. Vice Chair, do we have nominations? Eloise, are you, would you like to continue for another year or?
Yeah, I'm perfectly willing to continue for another year.
So do we have a nomination for Eloise
I'll
as the
second.
Vice
I'll-
Chair?
I'll-
Gary nominates. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Larry.
Larry seconds that. Can we have a roll call vote?
Board Member Reitman,
Yes.
Board Member Munoz,
Yes.
Board Member Collender,
Yes.
Board Member Shim,
Yes.
Board Member Hirahara,
Yes.
Board Member Lesney,
Yes.
and Chair Maskey.
Yes. Okay, now we go to administrative reports. We have first topic being the ITC Existing Conditions and Opportunities Memorandum.
Hello, board members. Earlier this year, city staff completed the existing conditions and opportunities memorandums and accepted them and presented them to the Historic Resources Board at the February 2nd meeting. At that time, the board requested that staff conduct an additional community outreach to further inform the memorandums and strengthen the city's understanding of the existing conditions and challenges within the study area. In response, staff conducted one-on-one stakeholder interviews with property owners, business representatives, transportation partners, community organizations, and other interested parties. Staff also hosted a community workshop on May 11th, where participants reviewed proposed opportunity concepts, providing ratings and shared comments and priorities, challenges, and opportunities for the ITC. Following this outreach, staff presented the memorandums to the Traffic Transportation Commission on June 11th and Planning Commission on June 17th and received additional feedback. Based on this outreach and commission input, staff updated the memorandums to include expanded references to previous planning efforts, including the Downtown Vibrancy Plan, the 2017 Economic Development Element Plan, and also the State Rail Plan. The memorandums also incorporate key themes from stakeholder interviews and community workshops, discussion of the MST Transit Center relocation study, and an executive summary. With these updates, staff has completed the scope of the work originally envisioned in 2024. The memorandums are intended to serve as a planning document that will help guide future decisions regarding the maintenance, operation, and activation of the ITC. Activation efforts have already begun with, in June 2nd of this year, City Council approved the renaming of the ITC to now be Salinas City Heritage Park at the ITC, establishing a distinct identity for the area and supporting future programming and activation efforts. And with that, I'm happy to return it back to the board for any feedback, comments, or questions.
Yeah, so if you could bring up figure 2, which is on page 5, I believe. Next one. That. If you could blow that up so we could see it a little better, increase the size of it. I think you can do that just right above it by hitting the plus sign. I'd like to have a little description of what we're looking at here because I'm seeing a whole bunch of things all around Baton Park and a bunch of notes and so forth. So could you describe what we're seeing around Baton Park and between the Steinbeck Center and Market Street and all that?
Yeah, happy to. One of the comments we received through outreach was to have more robust referencing of the 2015 Downtown Vibrancy Plan. And so this is one of the images from the Downtown Vibrancy Plan. It envisions a reimagined ITC and Baton Park, where Baton Park is actually raised, so it's at the same level as the ITC. Portions of Market Street are undergrounded. There's improved pedestrian connectivity between the Steinbeck Center and the parking garage in Baton Park, as well as the sort of circular plaza there at Baton Park would connect over to the ITC, again, all at the same grade level. And then a pedestrian bridge to Chinatown to improve that connection. So it's an ambitious vision for the future of that area. It has not proceeded in the last 11 years, but that's what this is. This is an image from the Downtown Vibrancy Plan with an aspirational goal for the area.
And was there a cost estimate for this proposal or this idea?
There was not.
I mean, it looks like about 60 to 100 million.
It is considerable. It also, specific to the ITC, it has opportunities for transit-oriented development that have not moved forward. What has moved forward since then was the Kickstart project with Transportation Agency, and that golden rectangle now is the main parking area for the ITC.
And then the area that is pink highlighted to the right-hand side of Baton Park, across from the ITC, why was that highlighted like that? Is that planned for something?
It's an opportunity for greater commercial mixed use. Right now, it's a collection of one-story small commercial establishments as well as some surplus parking, and so it was identified as an area where you could have more development.
And is the Taylor Building highlighted because it wasn't there at the time? Is that?
The Taylor Building was not there at the time, but the
Okay.
plans had been produced, so it was incorporated into the downtown vibrancy.
Okay. And then when it comes, I think it was this.
Are there any more, not to interrupt you, Dean, but are
Sure,
there any
sure.
more points that members have regarding this figure 2, since that's what we're
Yeah.
discussing right now?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I'd
Louise?
just like it clarified. Is that, because I've heard some mention about something underground. Is that supposed to be an underground, or is it topical walkway?
So the pedestrian promenade here is at grade, and then Market Street is undergrounded underneath it. So if you're familiar with Monterey and Custom House Plaza, and there's a tunnel where the road goes underneath the plaza, this would be similar to that.
So Market Street would travel underneath the ground, and Steinbeck and Baton Park would all be graded to level for one gigantic plaza. If you can conceptualize that, it's pretty wild.
Oh, so that blue thing would be underground? Is that what you're saying? That blue line?
The blue line's above ground. That's a pedestrian path between Chinatown and the ITC.
So would the underground portion of Market be from Salinas Street on the west and Monterey Street on the east?
Correct. Again, this was a very high-level concept. It never got fully designed or costed.
So another point about this that in the description mentioned some type of access to Chinatown with a bridge. Do you know where that would be located on this map, or what can you tell us about that?
Yes, so in the Chinatown Revitalization Plan, it's been identified as a need to have improved connectivity between Chinatown and downtown. And so the plan calls for a pedestrian bridge over the railroad. That's the blue dotted line to the right side of the figure that then has a terminus there at Soledad Street and Market Way, and site of our current redevelopment activities that we've presented to the HRB before.
It's that other thing that's right above the Baton Park. Is that a bridge or is that a tunnel?
I don't know off the top of my head.
That might be the current overpass, you know, when you go underneath. It says, "Welcome to Salinas" from both sides. Maybe that's what that is showing there?
I think it goes over the tracks.
So I'm still kind of confused. On this blue line that begins at the ITC and goes all the way to Soledad Street, if I understood you. So the only bridge on this blue line would be at the far eastern point that it's kind of separated now as a blue line to cross over. So that would be fairly tall, wouldn't it?
So I just would like to put in perspective that this is a bubble drawing, that this is a high-level concept that has not been vetted out. It was a vision for what this area could look like. So in terms of depicting exactly what each component is, it's really at a very high level at this point in time, a vision that was identified by the community back in 2015. So just want to give the board that perspective in terms of what it is they're looking at.
Okay. Sal?
Since this site is the primary historical site for Salinas, this is where Salinas began and where it was founded, initiated, I would like respectfully to release all of the preliminary sets, including elevations, so we can review as a board, because that qualifies for us to review to meet the Secretary of Interior guidelines that because it's creating a great impact on this historical site.
So we'll be happy to share the Downtown Vibrancy Plan was adopted in 2015. Again, there's no active project
No
associated
active
with
project. This has not actively been working on. And the item before you is really to bring the two memorandums, the summary of work that has been done, to take a look at what are the existing conditions and what are some opportunities moving forward. There is no decision at this point in time. It is a summary of an analysis and feedback from community engagement that we're asking the board to receive today.
Yeah.
So,
So, Dean, you want to continue?
yes, additionally, seems to be 3 proposed new areas for the, what do you call it? Not ITC, where the
Transit Center.
Salinas Transit Center.
Salinas Transit Center, yeah, that's what it's called. One is the ITC. One is between Alice Allen Church Street on a parking lot that is about the same size as where it currently is, which, by the way, the current size is 48,000 square feet. The other ones are John Street in Maine, and that would be taking out the Chase Bank. Is that something that would be done by eminent domain, or are they looking to sell?
You know, we actually have a presentation from Monterey Salinas Transit on that study right after this item.
Okay, so it's totally separate regarding this? Okay, then.
Probably best to
Wait
have those
until
questions
that
then.
Yeah, let's see.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
I have a question.
Eloise?
The ITC, it says, was rezoned to mixed use in 2021. So my question is, what was the zoning before the mixed use?
There were commercial zoning as well as retail zoning. If you go on Google, you can see previous years, and you'll notice if you weren't here at the time, there was a fish market there and some other properties. There was a credit union. And so it had been zoned for those types of uses, and then it was rezoned to be mixed use. And in the upcoming general plan update, the land use will be identical to the downtown land use zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the board? If not, do we have any comments from the public? Okay, next on the agenda then would be the Monterey Salinas Transit Rapid Bus and Transit Center Relocation Study.
Just quickly, if we could confirm there are no commenters on Zoom.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Michelle Overmeyer, Director of Planning and Innovation at Monterey Salinas Transit. While she's pulling up my presentation, I wanted to share some interesting history that you might not be aware of. This was sent to the City Council last month when they were considering renaming the area where the ITC is. So public transit has a long and important history in the city of Salinas. Early local service, such as the Spreckles streetcar line, known as the Dinghy, connected Sprinkles Sugar Company workers and families to Salinas. The legacy of mobility continued with the establishment of Salinas City Lines in the 1920s, which operated motor bus service until 1976, when the city assumed operations under the Salinas Transit System. In 1981, the system merged with the Monterey Peninsula Transit Joint Powers Agency to form what is now Monterey Salinas Transit. So there's your history lesson for today on public transit in the city. But I'm here to talk with you about our bus rapid transit and transit center relocation study. Monterey Salinas Transit is the public transit operator for the city of Salinas. We also serve Monterey County as a whole, so we operate in all of the incorporated cities, the unincorporated county. We provide connections to Gilroy Caltrain Station, Watsonville Transit Center, and the Paso Robles Transit Center. So residents and workers in Monterey County can commute by transit and ultimately connect to the neighboring counties. So MST is a special district. We're not part of the city. We have our own governing structure. We have a board of directors that is comprised of one city council member from each of the cities in Monterey County, as well as one county supervisor. Tony Barrera is your city's representative on the MST board. And our system works as a hub and spoke system. So we have these hubs, like in downtown Salinas. It's a transit center. The buses come in at about the same time. So at 15 minutes after the hour and 45 minutes after the hour, you'll see a lot of activity there. People can transfer between buses, and then the buses go back out into the city and serve all the neighborhoods in your community. So it's a pulse system. So there's a lot of background that goes into designing the schedules so that we are on a timed system and people can make those timed connections. They usually only wait for 5 to 10 minutes at the transit station before going back out. So we serve all of Monterey County. We have a large service area, and we've done a lot of investments in the Monterey Peninsula area, King City, the South County cities in general, and we've received comments that we need to do more investment in public transit in Salinas. And so we have been trying to find ways to improve bus operations along our busiest corridor, which is Alisal and Williams Road. And we've applied for a Caltrans planning grant for several years in a row, and we were finally successful at receiving the grant last year. We expanded the scope to include studying the feasibility of relocating our transit center. So there's 2 components to this study. It's grant funded by Caltrans, and the local match is coming from City of Salinas, Taylor Farms, and MST. Next slide, please. So this provides a schedule of the grant-funded work that we're doing. We started this project last summer. We have a consultant on board, Kimley Horn, that is helping us through this process. We have a technical advisory committee, or a TAC, that is comprised of staff from the City of Salinas, MST, Caltrans, TAMC, I think that might be, oh, and then we have a representative from the City Center Improvement Association. I think that's everybody on the TAC. So we have TAC meetings throughout this whole process. We did our first outreach to the community in the fall of 2025. We are now approaching outreach round 2, which is going to start later this month, and I'll get to that. In the first round of outreach, we reached over 400 community members through community events, pop-ups, a survey, and bus ride-alongs with our passengers. The outreach round 2 is going to start later this month. And then we will be preparing the final plan this fall and then finishing up with MST board approval later this year. It might stretch into next year. Next slide, please. So we have several goals of this study. We want to improve transit as the city is continuing to grow and expand. Public transit is the safest form of surface transportation. And so we want to support the city's Vision Zero policy. And Vision Zero is the idea that we can reduce the number of accidents and fatalities to zero. And we also want to maximize the use of existing public infrastructure to the extent possible. Next slide, please. So there's 2 components to the study. The first is a transit center piece that I'll talk about. Next slide, please. So this is the Salinas Transit Center. It has been there since, I think, the 80s. It predates Rancho San Juan High School, Rancho Cielo, West Ridge, and Cal State Monterey Bay. So we've been confined in this space for several decades while the city and the region continue to grow. And again, this is one of the most important transit hubs in Monterey County. We're also preparing for future growth. The city has the Central Area Specific Plan, the West Area Specific Plan, and then Amazon is coming. So there's going to be more traffic and more need for people to have an option to ride the bus. The current transit center has 9 gates, 19 bus routes serve that facility during the peak time of the year. There's 1 public restroom there. On average, we receive over 50 calls in a given quarter, for servicing that 1 public restroom. It is just under an acre. It's 0.75 acres in size. So we are constrained where we are with the 9 gates. Next slide, please. This graph shows the activity that we see there at the transit center. So on an average weekday, there are 3,400 people that use that transit center. The busiest time is between 3 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Next slide, please. In the fall of 2025, we did a public survey. We surveyed we received over 300 responses in the fall, asking details about the people taking the survey and what they want to see at an improved transit center for Salinas. So over 80% use the transit center at least a few times per week, 50% transfer between buses, 40% walk. So of the 3,400 that are using that center on an average weekday, 40% of those are walking to get there. Next slide, please. So our consultant is looking at what our space needs are. So the current site is 0.75 acres, and as the city grows, the transit service needs to grow as well. So we're looking at a facility that would be 1.1 acres or more in size, ideally, to meet our needs. We want to plan for 12 bus gates. Again, right now we only have 9. We're looking for a larger customer service area, and more public restrooms is what we always hear. Next slide, please. So we worked with city staff back in the summer and fall to identify potential locations to study for relocating the transit center. We started with 5 locations and we narrowed it down to 3. We want to stay within the downtown area because, again, 40% of the people are walking to get there. So it's key that we stay centrally located where people need to work. So the 3 locations we're looking at are the Salinas Intermodal Center, the parking lot between Church Street and Lincoln Avenue on LSL, and then off of John Street, the Chase Bank and Starbucks area. Next slide, please. So the first location is the Intermodal Transportation Center. This is the largest of the 3 sites that we're looking at. It's over 3 acres. It is publicly owned. It's served by the Amtrak, Flix and it has adequate space. When we look at this one, it would require minimal routing changes for our whole network. Looking at the different routes that come into the Salinas Transit Center now, it's efficient for north-south routes and maintains a longer deviation for our east-west routes. It does have some challenges. Market Street is a state-designated roadway, and Caltrans owns it. Can be difficult to get road changes through the state. There's a lot of traffic on that, and like I said, we have a lot of people walking to and from the transit center, so that's a consideration, is the additional foot traffic that would be crossing Market Street. Next slide, please. So the second location is 111 West Alisal. This is a parking lot across from the post office. It's 1.15 acres in site. It is publicly owned, and this one is probably the best situated of the three locations in respect to MST's existing bus lines, our east-west travel and our north-south travel. So it's a good location. And it is the smallest of the three sites that we're looking at. Next slide, please. So the third site is 425 Main Street and 127 John Street. This one is 1.26 acres. It is privately owned. It's mixed-use commercial, mixed-family residential zoning. This one would be a little trickier for our access. Routes coming from the north would have to deviate a little bit more, and then the east-west routing would have to be modified to reach this location. It is at the southern end of the downtown district area. Next slide, please. So then the other aspect of the study is the corridor. Next slide, please. So our highest ridership is in the Alisal, the highest ridership in the entire Monterey Salinas Transit system is coming from this area. Again, we did a study in the fall. We got 360 responses. Most of them are Salinas residents that live near the corridor that we were studying. Next slide, please. This is our busiest corridor. We regularly see over 50 people per day at most of these bus stops. Next slide, please. We're carrying over 300 people on an average weekday across this corridor. Next slide, please. So this shows what people want. This was from our survey. People want better transit operations. They want the bus to come frequently and to run on time. And this is one of the busiest corridors in the city, and on-time performance continues to be a challenge for MST. So our buses have a challenge of staying on schedule in the busy corridor. Next slide, please. So these are all survey results. I'm skimming through these for you. But the public does want to see better connections to the bus stops. They want transit faster and more reliable, and they want it to be more comfortable to get to and from the bus stops. Next slide, please. So ways to improve transit operations include features that make it easier for transit to flow through traffic. We don't have any special HOV lanes in Monterey County. There's no special road treatments for buses. On the peninsula, you might see the Surf Busway, which is getting constructed, so that'll be the first opportunity for Monterey County to have high-quality public transit in a dedicated space. But what can you do on existing old roads that are limited? So there is an option to repurpose the public space. So we put this forward in the survey. There were a couple options we presented to the public. Side-running dedicated bus lanes. So you take the outer travel lane and change it to be bus and emergency vehicle only. So the bus has its own travel lane and doesn't get caught up in traffic. We could do center running bus lanes, which we've seen in other cities like San Francisco, Richmond, Virginia. So the dedicated lanes are in the middle towards the median. Or the third option we looked at was not doing any dedicated lanes, but improving our bus stops. So creating in-lane bus stops, which means the bus would stay in the travel lane while it boards people and then doesn't have trouble getting back into traffic because it already is taking over the lane. So we presented these three options to the public, and for the three segments we're looking at, the public preferred the side-running bus lanes. So that's one of the alternatives that's moving forward. The three segments we're looking at are one on LaSalle between Front Street and Highway 101, on LaSalle from Highway 101 to Williams Road, and then the third segment is Williams Road from LaSalle to Barton. So next slide, please. The two alternatives we're moving forward are the side-running bus lanes, which is on the top, and then existing conditions with some bus stop improvements, which is shown on the bottom. It's a really long corridor, and I don't have enough slides here or time this afternoon to go over it, so there's a QR code there that will take you to our project webpage, and you can see the whole roll plot. And that shows you what the corridor would look like under each of the alternatives. Next slide, please. We had a community focus group meeting in April to walk through these two alternatives with members of the public, and those are pictures down there. The presentation that was shared with that community group is also on our project webpage that you can get to through that QR code. Next slide, please. So this is an intersection of LaSalle and Monterey Street. This is where the bus rapid transit would start. Under both alternatives, it's pretty similar here. And it would be moving our current bus stop across Monterey Street. Right now it's on the other side. So this would be a far side bus stop. So we could get through the intersection, get through the green light to serve people there. And the next slide is where you start to see the differences. So on LaSalle, approaching Felice, on the top, you can see the dedicated bus lanes, the mixed flow travel lane, and then a center turn lane. In this alternative, there's bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes on both sides of the road, and parking, on-street parking on one side. In alternative 2, there are no dedicated lanes, but like I mentioned, the bus stop would be extended. We'd have a bulb out, and then the bus would stop in the travel lane while it boards and deboards passengers so that it can continue on right away. Next slide, please. And then these renderings here are on Williams, and in this location, we're looking at a landscaped median in the center of the roadway, dedicated bus lanes, one mixed flow traffic lane, bike lanes on each side. And in this location, the road is not wide enough for on-street parking, so that would be removed. In alternative 2, it's basically existing conditions with the improved bus stop. Next slide, please. So this shows you the whole process for the overall planning and feasibility study that we're going through. We are towards the end, so the consultant has done the sketches, and they have submitted a cost-benefit analysis, environmental risk assessment. We're reviewing those internally at the administrative level, and we will be publishing that on our website in the next week or two. Next slide, please. So we will be starting our outreach round 2 this month. We'll be getting the public's feedback on those 2 corridor alternatives and the 3 potential sites for moving Salinas Transit Center. And we'll be wrapping up the study at the end of this year. And again, this is just a feasibility planning study. A lot more work and money would need to be found to move forward with any of these options. Next slide, please. Here's my contact information. Again, the QR code. We'll have a survey for the Salinas Transit Center relocation. It'll be posted on our website the week of July 20th. The following week, we'll have a survey for the public to provide feedback on those two alternatives on the corridor. And you can get to those surveys through the QR code on our website. We do a lot on social media and at our customer service windows. So that wraps it up for me, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Any comments or questions from the board?
So when it comes to the amount of people going through the transit center currently, its current location every day, your numbers showed 623, I think it was. I'm just wondering, based upon what the analysis was, I mean, is it really the case that 41% of them are actually walking from that facility to their jobs in the downtown?
So at the transit hub right now, there's on average 3,400 people a day that use it.
Or
And
is that
so
per
those,
week? I thought it said per week, 3,400.
per weekday,
Per week.
on an average weekday. I think that was April of last year. Those might be people from South County that are going to Cal State Monterey Bay. So they come up, this is where they would transfer to get to line 25 for a direct ride to campus. There's also other people that maybe work at the courthouse or want to go to jury duty and take the bus to the transit center, then they would walk. So we surveyed, and we got over 300 responses, and 40% of those said they walk to the transit center.
From the sort of downtown area, either for shopping or work or something like that.
Right.
So the alternative on the other side of Alisal, which seems to be almost the same size as your current location, is still centrally located for the vast majority. I think 40% of the people are going there and walking, as opposed to all the way over at the ITC or all the way back towards John Street. That's going to completely displace the walking ability of all those people. They're going to have to do transfers or something, right?
Yeah, so the 111 West Alisal is probably the most centrally located for our routes of the three sites.
Yeah, okay. And since it's basically, what is it, a hundredth of an acre difference in size, 5/100ths of an acre, is that location, which is similar size and all that, being considered because of the massive reconstruction that would have to take place as opposed to shutting down and rebuilding the current location, or is that small amount more space going to help a ton?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So our current site is 0.75 acres.
thought you
The
said 1.1.
parking lot across from the post office is 1.15 acres.
I'm sorry, how much?
The parking lot across from the post office, 1.15 acres.
1.1.
Okay. Thought you said the original was 1.1, so it's 0.75?
The current site, right?
Okay. Okay. And I think that's all the questions I've got. Thank you.
Larry?
Currently at the transit center, currently operating, is there any parking there specifically for that?
At the current site,
Yes.
parking for,
Well,
The
just general for, instead of people, let's say people park there, then get on a bus?
no.
It's sort of
No, not at
counterintuitive,
our-
but.
Not at our current location. I mean, there's on-street parking around the block on the perimeter streets.
Do you think that parking is going to be essential for success of, or increasing ridership? Because there'll be more riders in the future.
That's interesting. You know, most of our customers will walk or they might get dropped off. They don't park and ride. So I don't know that parking is going to be all that important for Salinas.
So there's quite a bit of parking at the ITC proposal. So I guess it's going to be general parking also then?
So that's also parking for the Amtrak and future commuter rail that's coming in.
Is that adequate parking for those particular functions?
I think the ITC Opportunities memo had information on parking usage, and I think it's not used a whole lot right now.
Yeah, just to chime in from the city, Transportation Agency for Monterey County, when they did the Kickstart project with establishing the parking lot, they had estimated ridership numbers for the new commuter rail, and then the parking was proportionate to the number of estimated commuters. So that's a case where people are parking and riding. They're coming from somewhere in Salinas or another city, they're parking at the ITC, and then they're commuting to the Bay Area. So that's why there's a surplus parking lot. There's currently not a lot of parking on the site on a daily usage because the commuter rail has not been created yet, but it's there and ready when the train does come.
And I think the report also said to be cautious not to commit our parking at the ITC location because in the future it may be needed. So we don't want any long-term tenants there who have access to parking as part of their lease. So we want to be flexible with the amount of parking we have there so we can use it the way we deem best in the future. Sal?
The present transit center is very close to the parking that is on Gavilan and Lincoln. It's only just going across one street, which centralizes to the ITC all of the parking that will encourage people that comes like on the railroad. They can come and go to different sites of the city or cities that MST serves. And why did you make a study of the impact that will create at maintaining the present parking center? And I think it's a lot of cost to redesign in another site and make it more difficult for the MST users to go to the intermodal center if they want to go on the train or on something else. Did you make a study of that? Because it creates a great impact. If it is the different sites that were chosen is very close to the present size of the existing transit center.
I'm not sure what that question is.
The question is, did you make a study of the impact that will create of the users? Because you claim that you chose other places or other sites because nearby parking. But in this one, in the present one, behind on Gavilan and Lincoln, there is a parking site which is made by the city, and that could eventually, if needed, it could have even a parking structure in there. It would be centrally located.
So parking was not part of the transit center relocation piece of the study. We did look at parking and the loss of on-street parking for the corridor portion.
Because the present one is very close to the ITC. It's only a block and a half. Okay, why make the users or the MST place it in farther away from the ITC, especially for people who wants to go through Salinas, stop at Salinas, and go to different cities on the buses, to encourage the use of the buses. If you get too far away, it's going to be very, very difficult for pedestrians to go from one place to the other. One maybe advantage will be that they will go through downtown and maybe they have something to eat and relax, but I don't see any advantages by maintaining the present transit center for its relocation.
Yeah, so I just might chime in a little bit. Again, as Michelle mentioned at the beginning of her presentation, they're doing the the spoke and hub method, and the idea is to keep the hub in downtown Salinas. And so this was really based on site constraints and ensuring they had a large enough area to have the 12 bays for the buses. And so it was really a process of elimination, of finding large enough sites and then working it down. And so these are the three that are most viable, and that's why they've continued to be studied.
Yeah.
And I'd say too, the Intermodal Transportation Center was one of the locations, because there is interest in having it be truly intermodal, because there may be a need for people transferring from the commuter train service in the future to local bus service. So that would be the closest connection.
But one of the biggest concerns about the ITC is the traffic going across Market Street, the pedestrian traffic.
Right, yeah, I mentioned it's a Caltrans facility.
That's a very large concern.
Right.
And also, you're going to be adding 3 bays, I guess, from 9 to 12 bays. So with the 9 bays, you already have about 20 buses. How many bays would be with the 12 bays? How many buses? Now you have 19 or 20. So how many buses with the 12 going in and out on Market Street?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're still planning as the city's growing. Like I said, those specific plan areas are growing, population's growing. I don't have an exact number today. And those planning horizons, I think, are maybe 10 years or more out for development.
10 years are out.
For land use, that's expansion in the city.
So I have a couple questions. In the Intermodal Transportation Center Existing Conditions Report on page 17, it mentions the development of a 5-bay bus transfer center to enhance multimodal connectivity. I didn't, maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see an image of that, or if there isn't one, can you show us or explain where that would be located at the ITC?
So today there's bus gates near the train, the Amtrak building. MST uses one of those for our line 59.
So we're looking at on page 14 that says Lot 1. So you're saying it would be in Lot 1, or would it be in the kind of horizontal section that says Station Place? Would that be where the 5 bays are located?
That's where they are today, right?
For Station Place, in that kind of horizontal double line on west and east, the bays would be located there.
Yeah, so if I could chime in, this is in the existing conditions for the ITC, and these bays exist today. They were done as part of the Kickstart project. So when the parking lot was constructed, so too were the bus lanes there at the top for Amtrak throughway buses, as well as Greyhound buses. They can pull in right up to the sidewalk and load and unload their passengers. So
Okay.
that's
yeah,
where they are today.
I've seen those. So the MST really doesn't use any of their buses there, right?
We do. We serve one of those bus gates today, the line 59 that goes from Salinas to Gilroy Caltrain Station, serves one of those 5 bus gates today.
And that would be for passengers who want to go north to Gilroy?
Yeah.
Okay. So is the ITC large enough for a new MST location?
Yes.
It
So,
is.
yeah, I don't have page numbers on here, but the first of the 3 sites that has the layout, we've designed it with the bus gates closest to Market Street so that it is a shorter walking distance. And the engineers are able to accommodate the necessary bus gates there, including 2 that are on Market Street.
Okay. So I'm just wondering if a survey's ever happened, or maybe you know already. What percentage of MST passengers actually connect to Amtrak or Greyhound? So when they get on that MST bus, am I taking it to then connect to either of those modes of transportation?
Yeah, I don't know that we've surveyed our customers for that question.
I would guess it's pretty low. I don't know, but I'm thinking it would probably be pretty low. So if that is the case, maybe there isn't as strong a need to have MST located here. Maybe a particular bus or shuttle, once the schedules are known for Amtrak and Greyhound, that coordinate when the connection times within reason are close, so they then can let passengers there so they can get that connection. Otherwise, the connectivity isn't really happening much. I know we hope in the future, once we can get on the train and go to the city, we're going to have a lot more action, and I can't wait for that day to happen. But it's a ways off still.
Right, so right now Amtrak comes to Salinas, I think, once a day in each direction. Is that correct? Yeah, so the train service is pretty limited right now.
Really limited,
but the
yeah.
commuter rail is scheduled to come to Salinas, and there would be more usage at that time. So that's one of the benefits of having the Salinas Transit Center at that location, to
So-
improve that intermodal connection.
So would the Line 59, could that be adapted so that once the schedules are known better and we actually see passengers use it, could 59 be that conduit to get people there for the connection, or would you use a shuttle or some other bus line?
My guess right now is Line 59 would go away once the commuter rail comes, because it wouldn't be needed. It'd be duplicating service.
Okay. Excuse my ignorance. How many of our MST buses are electric? Are they all? Are they gas? How are they powered?
We're getting there. The small buses, the mini buses, are all gasoline powered. The large buses are either renewable diesel, biofuel, or electric. We just got 13, and we had 4 before, so we're almost to 20 full-size electric buses in the fleet.
And in an ideal world with no cost constraints, what would you hope they be? How would you hope they be powered?
The State Air Resources Board has a requirement for us to be fully electric by 2040.
By 2040? Okay. I know you mentioned there were 5 locations initially that were considered, and for whatever reasons, it was whittled down to these 3. Out of curiosity, are you able to share the other 2, or if not, were any locations considered on East Market or West Market?
So this map here has the red circle with a line through it on the 2 that we did not move forward with. The one on the left, or the west side, is, I think that was the old newspaper building. And we determined that would just be too challenging with a large historic
So
building there.
the circle on the left, is that where it's a parking pad now, and we've just done a lot of solar panels? It's directly across from the jail?
Yes, that's correct. It's a
Okay.
county-owned parking lot.
Okay, and then the one to the east,
This is the
let's see the-
parking lot on Monterey Street, just south of LSL.
Monterey at East San Luis?
This is a city-owned parking lot on LSL, the corner of LSL and Monterey, directly behind the
Is this the Rabobank?
Rabobank Apartments.
Oh, so we're on, okay, all right.
And then your other question, did we look at sites on Market? I think we maybe talked about a couple mixed-use, low-income housing developments along Market, but we didn't find any particular location that would meet our size requirement on Market Street.
And then I know access might be a little quirky, but on Lake Street, Westlake, I mean, when you're at the train station, you look across the tracks and you see housing and a storage facility there, but at least in one of the drawings, when I was going through all the paperwork, I said, oh, well, there's a big lot right there, and I think SP just has a lot of their lumber and equipment just kind of hanging there. I mean, it just seems like, I don't know if it's big enough, but it certainly is close, isn't it?
So that's on the north side of the train tracks?
That's right.
Yeah, I think we were trying to stick south, closer to downtown
More
for the
user-friendly,
walkability.
yeah. Okay. And then let's talk about the John Street and Main Street there location. And just before I start that conversation, it sounds like your preference would be the Alisal location.
I did not say a preference. We're still
Just with the
evaluating
way the bus
all
route
three.
is, it just seems like getting in and out, that's a major artery for the buses to be taking frequently.
I think to limit the disruption to the existing routing, to limit the changes that would be needed for existing routing, that location B would probably be the most ideal. So A and C would require changing existing routing to serve those.
And that's an interesting location because if I recall correctly, that's where Salinas High School used to be, the Brickyard. And then many architects once, it was demolished, had plans, Salinas wanted a grand civic center, and we were going to have our Veterans Memorial building there for conventions and community activities. So it's interesting today that that's a potential site for transit. But moving on to the John Street location, again, a pretty historic site. The Barden Hospital was there for a number of years. It was moved to Avenue A and then eventually was developed by Mr. Tynan and his business associates for the Salinas Bank. And that's an important building architecturally. It was designed by Wenceslao Sarmiento, who is a very noted architect in the U.S. He's known for his bank buildings. I can give more information about him, but we all can just look online and find that out. His offices eventually were in Santa Monica. He did a number of banks in the country, especially in California. And in addition to that, we have Edith Hamlin's remarkable mosaic panels. Oh my God, how lucky are we to have them in Salinas? So the whole thought of this building being demolished makes me nuts. So I strongly advocate that we do not consider this site because it's architecturally way too important for us. And if I understand correctly, in the Page and Turnbull survey, which we'll be seeing in the fall, we're going to learn more about it. In the information sent to us by Yesenia, it showed Kent Seavey's DPR about it, which doesn't mention the architect, but I've just told you, and Tomlinson and Huck were the contractors. And it was built to withstand earthquakes. You have solid bronze doors. It's just a really remarkable building.
So you're saying it would have to be demolished in order to?
Yes, that's the plan. You would lose that building and the Starbucks. Am I correct?
They would be, yeah, we would need all of that space to accommodate 12 gates. This site also has challenges because John Street is also, I think, still a Caltrans facility. Highway 68 goes through there, so it's a Caltrans facility. It's at the far end of, the walkability area we're looking for downtown. So yeah, there's challenges with all the locations.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from the board or questions? Larry?
Yeah. In the agenda packet, they had the historic survey, so I was curious about that, not knowing too much about that particular building. I think that's where hopefully we'll be able to give input on what we think are most important, whether or not that building needs to be preserved or not. So
Yeah, I think
I think that's one of the basic reasons why we need to give input on it and why it was presented to us.
right. And I think the building on its own can qualify for a different historic designation. So if nothing else from the board, anything from the, Eloise, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask about what the role of TAMC in this whole plan. Is there any sort of coordination or role that TAMC has in all of this plan?
Yeah, so TAMC is the Regional Transportation Authority for this area. They have been participating in our Technical Advisory Committee. They have a strong interest in the Intermodal Center because they are actively working on that commuter passenger rail in the future. So they have been participating. We do have TAMC here in the staff, in the audience also.
So is it their preference? Are they a positive force for wanting it at the ITC? Is that what I'm hearing?
From what I understand, there is interest in having all of the transportation modes in a location that is one spot where people can easily transfer.
Yeah, but I mean, does that coordinate with, I mean, I know that coordinates with TAMC and MST and ITC and the city and everything, but how does that really align with the community engagement? Do we know about that?
Well, I think that's a good reminder that the study's ongoing, and MST will be entering the next phase of community engagement. So we'll really get to see how the community feels about these three options. No agency has taken an official preferential stand. TAMC doesn't have a preferred one. The city does not have a preferred one. MST does not. This is still a planning study that's ongoing, and public engagement will continue through the fall.
Excuse me.
Larry?
How far out does this project kind of visualize as? 10 years?
So after the study is completed, what would be the timeline for construction and relocation of the facility?
It's a really good question. So MST owns the location that it's in now. We don't own property in any of these three locations. So there would need to be some coordination there, and we don't have funds to construct. So there would be a period of seeking funds to construct a new transit center and the bus rapid transit.
Is there any consideration of TAMC for rehabilitating the present train station? Has there been any kind of plan about that whatsoever?
So the train station is owned by the city of Salinas, so we'll be the property manager for that. TAMC is the regional planning agency that's working to bring the commuter rail and then to construct the layover facility where the commuter rail trains would sleep at night.
The city owns the train station.
Correct.
Does the city have any plan for rehabilitating that train station?
Well, we just reviewed the opportunities memos, and that listed some opportunities for revitalizing the existing train station while preserving its history. So no definitive plans now, but we have identified it as a need and an opportunity.
And I think part of that goal was to have Amtrak share the responsibility of it. And I think that's what's isn't happening currently.
Right. I I'm just wondering if there, I mean, since the city owns it, how much, what do I want to say?
Do we have a current state of what the conditions are versus, you
Yeah,
know,
how much,
because that'll
how much
impact.
historical preference do they have for the train station? In other words, are they dedicated to wanting to rehabilitate it, or do they not really care? I mean, do they want to, is it possible that they might want to demolish it and repurpose the, that area to coincide with the new plan, whatever the plan is?
No, there's no plans for demolition. The city will maintain its buildings and through its capital improvement program, conduct the maintenance and operational improvements.
Also, are they thinking about maybe collaborating and combining the train museum with the train station and to sort of historically preserve that whole train thing going on there?
Yes, I think that was the idea behind the Heritage Park designation, is that the California Welcome Center, the historic Amtrak building, the Railroad Museum, the First Mariners House would all work as a campus, so to speak, where folks could come and use it not just for transportation needs, but also to learn about Salinas' unique and interesting history.
Because I think that train museum needs some upgrade. And if it was coordinated with the train station, historically, you know, those two are together, next to each other, different from the mayor's house and the Heritage Welcome Center. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe it would be good to coordinate an idea of historical rehabilitation, combining those two in some nice sense.
That's a good idea.
Sal?
Any alterations to this particular site, the Heritage Park? I want to go back to say, this is the site of the seed of the beginning of our city, in the beginning of the agricultural industry. All of those buildings that are there are historical. Any impact that can be created on those particular areas must not detract or destroy without any alterations of the historicity of those buildings. And it must follow, again, the Secretary of Interior's standards for historical sites.
Absolutely. Any other comments? If not, anything from the public? Larry? Thank you, Michelle.
You mentioned about the traffic on West Market Street going across there being a problem. A couple times I went down Lincoln Avenue going across.
Can you speak a little more into the mic there?
A couple times I've gone down Lincoln Avenue to go across West Market Street to get into the First Mayor's house, and I couldn't get through the intersection. It was blocked because people got stopped in it. I had the green light, and I couldn't move. People next to me couldn't make the left turn. It's a disaster for emergency vehicles, first responders. It's just a complete mess over there. And with more buses coming in, it's only going to get worse.
Right. Thank you. So if there's no more comment, the next item on the agenda is an update on the 2026 Mills Act application period. Yesenia?
Hello. So since the application opened on May 1st, city staff mailed informational postcards to property owners whose properties are identified as eligible historic resources in the city's 1989 and 2017 Historic Resources Survey. And since then, staff has received interest from 7 property owners seeking additional information about the program. And tomorrow we should receive a 1 completed application, Mills Act. Also, as a reminder, the application period will close on Friday, July 31st. And once the application period closes, staff will review all submitted applications and return to the board later this year with any recommendations and considerations. And with that, I'd like to give it back to the board.
So if I understood correctly, the city sent out to any properties listed in the 89 survey, informing them about the Mills Act and encouraging them to participate if they'd like to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very proactive. That's good.
So how many so far for this year?
7.
How many so far applications of the Mills Act?
7 have reached out, and tomorrow we are supposed to receive 1 full completed application.
So the deadline for your completed application for this upcoming year period is July 31st.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And are there anything else from the public? Any board members, reports, or comments?
Oh, I just wanted.
Eloise, I know you had wanted to bring up your topic. If today's a good day, or we could do it the next one.
Topic now, because
Okay,
it's, there's not enough time, so maybe next time.
maybe next time, all right.
For the rehabilitation, just those 5 slides, because I just really think it's really important, especially, I'm imagining that we're going to get the page and turn ball rather soon. And
I think September, October grant is when we're going to
Yeah,
get it.
and I think it's going to be very beneficial for people to understand, once they see those properties, if they have the property themselves, or if they want to invest in that property, how they will be able to rehabilitate it. So just to kind of get an idea about the steps in rehabilitation, that's why I want to bring that forward. But the other thing that I wanted to say is that I also attended the California Foundation, Preservation Foundation seminar on the boot camp for successful community engagement. And I thought it was really informative. There was a person there that has been working on the 16th Street, Oakland train station. So that was really informative, and I got her personal contact. And also, I just wanted to say that, successful community engagement depends on trust, equity, flexibility, cultural sensibility, and sustained collaboration. It's just not about just getting the numbers of people to go to the survey. You have to have those people, trusting the people involved, the agencies involved, and all of that. So I wanted to just bring that forward.
Thank you. Yes, that was a really good presentation, both sessions of it that CPF gave us. Larry?
Yeah, I attended the first one of the CPF, and for me personally, I thought that it for me to do a better job here at HRB, that a lot of what they did was processes as opposed to policy. But I went to the webinars for the Department of the Interior. Those, I think it was like half an hour, but those were those are very beneficial. I found those to be helpful. More so, I mean, there was good information from the webinars, but as far as maybe a direct correlation to what we're doing here, I thought that the other webinar information that Yesenia sent us was much more beneficial. And that was to go at your own pace.
Right. All right, so if no other comments, want to point out our next meeting is August 3rd, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
It didn't run too far over the 1 hour standard that we usually do. Not too bad. Weren't too delayed.